Hello everybody, it's Crystal, and everybody always wonders what's the best phone to buy. But here at Android Authority, we're taking the guesswork out of it. For this installment of Best of Android 2015, we're taking a look at the camera. Which phone takes the best pictures? Our very own Narav and Rob went around taking pictures with 6 of what we think are the best Android smartphone cameras. And then all of us here at Android Authority took a closer look and voted on which phone's camera we enjoyed the most. And that's really important because everybody has their own opinion as to what makes a good picture. Is it sharpness, saturation, or exposure? But overall, there's a very clear winner here. So let's take a closer look and see which 2015 Android smartphone has the best camera. Let's take a look. Make sure after you're done watching this part of the Best of Android series to check out the rest here on YouTube or our website androidauthority.com, where we pick the best phones when it comes to battery, display, and more. Let's introduce the contestants. We have the Blackberry Priv, LG V10, Galaxy Note 5, Droid Turbo 2, Nexus 6P, and the Sony Xperia Z5 Premium. Now these pictures were all taken in auto mode with HDR set to auto. However, on the Z5 Premium, Auto HDR is always on, so keep that in mind. Also, we shot in a 4:3 aspect ratio due to the Blackberry Priv only allowing 4:3 aspect ratios. And make sure you're watching this video at the maximum quality your computer or internet speeds can handle, and make it full screen to see all those extra little details. Let's start with some daytime shots on an overcast day. Overcast days are a little tricky for cameras due to that very bright white sky and the darker subjects it creates, but these are the best 2015 Android cameras, so they do a pretty good job at exposing both. So keep these couple things in mind when determining which photo is better. In your opinion, which has the best exposure, sharpness, color temperature, and saturation? The main difference you can tell right off the bat, and will be the same for the rest of these daylight photos, is that the LG V10, Nexus 6P, and Z5 Premium have a cooler bluish color tone to them, while the Blackberry, Turbo 2, and the Note 5 have a warmer orangish tone. So which one's more realistic? Well, probably the cooler blue colors. But then again, which one do you prefer? I mean, it's hard to say, maybe a tie with the Blackberry and 6P. Well, let's move on to a similar shot and really dissect it. Immediately, we can rule out the Droid Turbo 2. It's not necessarily blurry, but it's just very soft. With the Z5 Premium, details are pretty lacking, although the colors are quite nice. The Note 5 has a lot of processing going on, including sharpening, which does help in some situations, but with all these small tiles and windows very far away, it does lose some of its depth. That leaves us with the V10, 6P, and Blackberry. All look really good. The clouds are better exposed with the Blackberry, although the color temperature may not be of preference. It does look very nice though. The V10's exposes a little more, making the clouds a little brighter and then losing some of them. Not much sharpening going on as we look at the tiles, creating a very soft image. On the 6P, our clouds are better exposed. Not as much as the Blackberries, but still nice. And there is some sharpening going on, but not too much. Just the right amount, I would say. In my opinion, when considering exposure, sharpening, and color temperature, I would pick the 6P as the winner here, but it's still very close with the other two. Everything that I just mentioned will become a theme for the rest of these daylight images. Here we have a subject up close, this statue of something, and the focal point is the International Brigade plaque. And as we browse through these shots, you'll notice a lot of overexposing on the background. Really, the only phone that manages to do a good job of keeping the background with the sky is the Z5 Premium. The colors of the sky are actually present, and these trees and buildings are exposed very nice. The problem is, the actual subject is not as clear as the other shots. And when you're taking a picture like this, the subject you're shooting is more of a priority than an evenly exposed background. Same with the Droid Turbo 2, it's the runner-up in terms of exposure, but still it's a very soft and almost blurry image. Let's jump to the V10 and see that statue suddenly becomes a lot sharper and clearer even with the background starting to get lost. The Note 5 looks similar, but is sharpened a lot, almost too much once again. The 6P doesn't have as nice colors as the V10, although it seems a bit sharper, but still it's probably one of the worst exposed photos with that HDR mode not triggering. Taking a look at the Blackberry, it seems to be the best of both worlds. The trees are exposed better than the other shots, colors are nice, and the subject is quite clear and sharp without being too sharp. The Blackberry really looks great here. Here's the Blackberry on a different shot. Focus point is a clock Big Ben in the distance. Doesn't seem to be the clearest here. The V10 is miles clearer with better colors, although the Droid Turbo 2 actually manages to create a sharper image. And here's a Note 5. Huge color shift, but isn't too bad. It's even more sharp than the Turbo 2, and in my opinion, once again, maybe just a tad too much sharpening going on. The Z5 maybe not enough. And the 6P has a lot of sharpening going on as well, almost too much, but with a better color temperature and better exposed image, I think the 6P is a winner here again. Let's throw in a selfie of our boy here. Blackberry is quite fuzzy, same with the Z5 Premium, while the Droid Turbo 2 isn't fuzzy, it's just blurry. The 6P looks like it has some nice detail going on, but seems not to be the best focused image. And here's a Note 5. Once again, huge color change. Very, very warm. And even without the beauty mode, the Note 5 seems to really soften the skin too much. That leaves us with the V10. Although not the best detail, I do think it has the best colors and exposure. Now let's get into the low light shots. Here's a Blackberry. Looks alright. But then when switching to the V10, it's not even comparable, although some light flares start to show up. And then you switch to the 6P, and once again, the V10 isn't comparable. Much better colors, and when looking at the wood, much better detail as well. The Turbo 2 is okay, but loses some color and detail. The Note 5 does a good job, but seems a little too foggy almost when compared to the 6P. And the Z5 is just very dark. The 6P is a clear winner here. Here's a low light shot with something bright in it, and we focus on the light. As you can see, the Z5 really has trouble keeping the lights exposed correctly. Same with the Turbo 2. And the Blackberry does a good job, although the overall image is quite dark. The Note 5 looks very good too, although you do have that extra sharpening which loses details in the leaves. And here's a V10. It looks fantastic. Just the right amount of sharpening so you can still see the leaves perfectly. But there's still a better picture I have to show you, and that comes from the Nexus 6P. Yeah, it's darker, but you don't lose anything in the darkness. The lights are exposed perfectly, the detail's incredible as well, and I mean this really is an amazing photo here. Now let's try something a little different here. I'm not going to label these so you can decide for yourself which is a better image without any given facts. Here we have a pitch black night with the only lights coming from this carousel. We didn't pick a focal point, so it should default to the actual ride itself. As you can see, some are blurry, and some of these phones do not have optical image stabilization, which can really make photos suffer in low light. Alright, I'm guessing you probably picked image 4, right? Yep, that was a Nexus 6P. Now there is no optical image stabilization here, but the HDR Plus feature on the 6P is fantastic. And when it's on in low light, there really is no competition. With this fire shot, we can get a good idea of how each camera processes colors and how well they process motion. We focused on the fire pit, with the Note 5 being washed out, the Blackberry being dark, the Droid Turbo 2 being overexposed, and the Z5 lacking lots of detail. Now we're left with the V10 and the 6P. But when we take a closer look, you can really get a lot more detail with the 6P's image. Here's one instance where the 6P isn't the preferred picture. This is where we see all the faults of the 6P's lack of image stabilization, and we have a bit of a blurry image, and the same can be said for the Droid Turbo 2. The Note 5's remain steady, yet that crazy color shift really takes away from the atmosphere of this area. The Z5 creates a very nice image, nice colors in the sky, and really captures the atmosphere. The Blackberry is very similar, yet seems a little sharper. And the V10 has a different color temperature, but take a look at the difference in noise. There's a lot less with the V10, and overall, I think the V10 takes the crown here. Now that we understand the themes of each camera's images, the pros and the cons, let's take a look at only the best. Here's a nice shot with a lot going on. A sky, lots of lights, and a building in the back. The Blackberry Priv, followed by the Z5 Premium, beat out all the others, which was very interesting. We're still in low light here, but this time with a much more close-up view. With such a close-up image, a lot of phones fail to focus properly in this low light, and with the subject being words, it's important to make sure the words are clear. And once again, the Blackberry Priv made for the clearest rendering of the words on the sign, with the runner-up being the Note 5. Here's another selfie shot in low light, and the Nexus 6P was a clear winner here, with tons of detail and nice colors. Even the runner-up, the Droid Turbo 2, is way behind the Nexus 6P in terms of quality. That just shows how tough of a shot this was to capture. All of these phones are capable of 4K video, but we do have to say the 6P is the worst. It's just way too dark. The Note 5 is a close runner-up, with it just not being very sharp at all. The Note 5's camera, without all that extra sharpening processing, makes for a very soft image. No doubt, we're going to give the edge to the LG V10. It looks fantastic and definitely creates a more sharper picture. Colors are very good too. Everything is exposed correctly without being too dark or too bright. When it comes to panorama in daylight, the Nexus 6P is a clear winner, with the Turbo 2 being in dead last due to this strange grid appearing throughout the image. The 6P pieces together the images flawlessly, while even the runner-up Note 5 seems to have trouble creating some uneven subjects like this pipe here. With the same shot but at nighttime, it's almost funny to look at the Z5's attempt, while the Nexus 6P destroys every single other shot. Sure, there's some noise and some parts are a little blurry, but the amount of brightness and saturation of colors makes for a beautiful image. And here's a runner-up, the LG V10, not even comparable. And that's a great place to end this comparison. All of us here at Android Authority voted, and the Nexus 6P was a clear winner. And that's awesome to say that a Nexus phone has the best camera out on the market right now. And it's mostly thanks to its HDR Plus mode that not only takes 2 shots of different exposures and pieces them together, but it adds tons of post-processing, and it does it just right to boost the color and brightness. The Note 5 came in second place, although far behind the 6P, with the V10 falling very close after that. So these 3 phones are definitely the best Android smartphones that you can pick up if you're looking for the best camera. Alright everybody, thanks for watching. I really hope this helped you decide which smartphone camera is right for you. And make sure you leave a like and check out these other cool videos on the side here. And if you want our Android Authority app, click on that Google Play link up there. And last but certainly not least, for a more in-depth review and for even more camera comparison shots, head on over to AndroidAuthority.com because we are your source for all things Android.